2014 Audi Q7 3-liter diesel TDI, 181,000 miles. Customer complaint is, well, air suspension. So he said, he drives, warning lights come on, and then it's also puking coolant out of the top of the engine somewhere. So 2 customer complaints. For the diagnostics, we'll focus on this air suspension system. So what is it doing? What are the symptoms? What are the trouble codes? Let's get a scanner on this thing and see what's up with the air suspension. So with this knob, you can select, lift, off-road comfort, auto, dynamic. This is as low as it goes, sporty mode. You can see the little orange lights flashing. It's not happy. And after a little while, it'll set other codes. So you revert back to auto, and you can't select the other modes there for some reason. And then you get this TPMS, tire pressure system malfunction. That is just related to the suspension being off. I don't know why it throws a TPMS code, just to get your attention. And you see right now, car's a little drunk. It's sitting like crooked. The right side's definitely lower than the left. In the front, this corner is very low and the opposite corner is very high. So something's messed up with the leveling in this fancy air suspension system. Alright, so here's the health report. A lot of red modules. We don't care about that. A rear AC control head, don't care about that. Rear lid close sensor, don't care about that. Level control system, very generic code, 1400, upper limit exceeded. This code means that a state wasn't achieved after some time when it was commanded on or off. So, very generic code. And then see here, oh here we go, tire pressure monitoring. It just says level control system control module. So the TPMS light came on because of the issue with this leveling system. So let's go into level control system. Okay, and we can read data stream. So let's see if the car is trying to command all 4 air shocks. What the deviation is. We have compressor temperature, pressure sensor, discharge solenoid valve, pressure accumulator solenoid valve, and then the 4 air spring valves. They're all inside of an air block. So let's graph those. So you can see right now, front left 0.3 inches. This one's about minus 0.3 inches. That's why the right front's low. Rear left is 1.87 inches. That's almost 2 inches above, well, what it should be. And then the rear right is an inch above what it should be. So let's start up the car. Let's go to the lift mode. So you can see the pressure's building now. The rear solenoid valves are on. Are the heights changing? It's trying to lift it up. Sometimes you have to go back here and clear the fault code, and then it'll start doing its thing. Let's see, turn off. Gonna reset the system. So lift mode is basically service mode, where it lifts itself all the way up, and then you can put it up on a jack. Get back in here. Read DTC. No DTC set. Data stream. And every time you have to, let's see, compressor relay on off. Pressure sensor. And all of these. So the heights did not change. Let's go to comfort mode. So it's trying to let the rear end down. See, now they're all off. It probably set a code because it blanked out the other screens there. Read DTC, there it is, 1400 again. Level control system, upper limit exceeded. We got the TPMS light, we got the blinky yellow light. So, yesterday I played around with this thing, and it seems like we'll do some bidirectional controls. The rear left shock will not deflate. It's just stuck high, and all the other ones, they're inflating and then trying to level out, and it can't achieve the level, and it just times out. Sometimes the compressor overheats. Sometimes it says valves aren't, you know, there's like a timeout. So the initial health report here for this Audi, and it only works with the engine running, that's why the engine's running. This is the initial health report. Let's see here. Oh no, this is from before. So 3 codes. Switch off due to excessive temperature, level control system, and function deactivation valve, switch on duration. Alright. Okay, now you can hear the compressor run. Let's see what's happening outside. It's definitely lifting up. It's raising up the front end. And if it takes too long, the compressor will overheat. So this thing has like 3 inches of travel in those air shocks and adjustability. Let's see if it's happy, or did it reach its happy state? No, it's still, it looks, okay, it's not blinking anymore. So let's go back to read DTCs. No DTC, so it's happy right now. And in data stream, we should see these deviations at about 2 inches from comfort is like 0, off-road is 1 inch, lift is 2 inch, dynamic I think is -1 inch. So we're on compressor temperature, compressor pressure. Okay. So look at that. They're all at 2 inches. It's all happy. It's in lift mode. It's great. All the valves are off. We're at 7.5 bar. Compressor temperature is 107 degrees Fahrenheit. So let's try to drop it into off-road mode. It should decrease by 1 inch. So look at the front. Should go to about 1 inch. And it should stop there. The rear right went down about 1 inch. Look at the rear left. It's stuck at 2 inches. This is what I'm talking about when I mean the rear left is stuck. Look, it's still trying to lower itself. The rear air springs, the valves are on, and the discharge is on. So it's dropping pressure, and he can't get the rear left to drop. So we go back to lift. Pump just kicked on. Look at that compressor temperature rise. That compressor heats up super fast. Okay, so the rear, it looks like it bumped up. Now the front solenoid valves are on. See, the front height is increasing. It should top out around 2 inches. Okay, so it's happy in lift mode. So that's a cool screen capture right there. Now I shut it off, so it's happy in lift mode. Turn the key back on and go in here and try to bidirectionally lower each corner one at a time. Okay, actuation test. And we want to, right here, vehicle is lowered at rear left, rear right, front left. So let's start with front left. Okay. And let's see what happens to this wheel when we hit this test. So start. Front left being lowered. Next. All the way down. Okay, look at that. Minus 0.7 inches. Next. Actuation test complete. So now this is low, that's still high. This is still high and that's still high. So now let's try lowering the front right. Okay, start. Next. Minus 0.8. Next. Actuation test complete. Let's try the rear right. Okay, start. Next. So look, it only went down to 2.2 inches. How about rear left? Conditions have not been met. Let's try this again. Function canceled. Interesting. Might have to reset the vehicle. Alright, we're back to full lift mode. Let's try lowering the rear right first. Start. Next. Okay, that's working. Down to 1.3. Okay. And now let's try lowering the rear left. So you just went like psh, and it's not letting it go. It's like it's stuck. So that's a problem. This corner will not drop. Look how how high that is. Let's do the front right. Now I don't know why the front left is going too. Okay. Front left. Okay, it's happy at minus 0.8, but rear left never does the correct bidirectional control. Okay? Rear left. So is it an electrical problem? Is it a mechanical problem? Let's look up some service information on this thing, on this air suspension system, see if we can figure anything out. Research time. So, redrawn diagram, since it's all in one page. Here is our level control system module, right side of luggage compartment. You can see this thing controls the valve body. So these are the 4 solenoids for the suspension strut valves. Then there's also an accumulator valve and a level control pressure sensor in here. Now what about the air compressor? Here it is, level control system assembly, the compressor motor, there's a solenoid in here, and a pump temperature sensor. So 6 solenoids total that we can bidirectionally control. Well, not directly, but we can lower the car, wheel by wheel. On the OEM diagrams, here's our J197 level control system module. Let's go to the next page. This is why track diagrams are a little more time consuming, but they are more detailed. So here's our compressor motor, there's our temperature sensor, there's our N111, that's the valve, it's all controlled by the module. And next page, one, two, three, four, 5 solenoids and the pressure sensor in our solenoid valve assembly. So you can see N150, N149, N151, N148. So we can actually see which wires control which suspension valve. So N150 is left rear suspension strut valve. That's the one we're worried about. So that's going to be this one right here, controlled by this GESW, so I assume it's yellow and black, wire from the control module. So we don't even have to go underneath the car to this assembly, we just need to go to J197, and if we open a new tab, this thing is hiding in the trunk, should be pretty easily accessible. If we go here, right there, number 9, J197, located right in luggage compartment underneath the spare wheel cover. So we can go there, look at the pinouts, and see what the computer is commanding on these solenoids. We can see it on the scanner if they're on or off. Measure the voltage and even manually command the solenoids and see if the car, if they respond. I'm assuming it's going to be a stuck solenoid in that valve body because there are no circuit codes being set, so I'm sure the path is continuous, it's drawing current, but the solenoid's not moving, it's not letting the left rear corner of the car drop, and that's causing all these issues. Alright, we're in the trunk of the Q7. Here is our air suspension control module, easily accessible. Popped off the cover for this connector and found the wires that go to the solenoids. So I want to compare left rear, right rear, when we bidirectionally control it, what happens to the voltage on those wires. So right now it's high, and that means this wire right here must be a power feed coming from the module, and then these are ground side switched. So right now everything's at battery voltage, or the charger's at 13.5 volts. So this wire is the yellow and black. That's this one right here. So left rear, I'm going to hit start, and we'll see if that voltage drops. It does, and we're not lowering. There's definitely current going through there. We're not lowering at all. We're at 2.3 inches. So basically we can stop the test. Let's try the rear right, rear left, rear right. So we move our lead to the other solenoid. There it is, 13.5. And click OK, and click start, and next. It's lowering just fine. So you can see the controls are good, the circuitry is good. It's not setting any codes for circuit faults. That solenoid's not clicking, not moving inside of that valve block. We could even do a manual test, raise the vehicle up again, and just ground these out with a test light with the key on, and that will just substitute, the ground side switch driver will pull the solenoids down and see if the wheels indeed, if the levels drop down when we energize those solenoids. I think that's the next step. Okay, so next thing, car is back up to its lift position. Unplug the module, keys out. You just want to manually energize these solenoids and see if they react, like the right rear versus the left rear. So I have a fused power source right from the battery coming into the common wire. That's the blue and brown, or I'm sorry, the green and brown. This one right here. And then I want to ground out the left rear and the right rear one at a time and see what the car does. Through a test light, through a 1 amp test light, that should be enough to power these solenoids. So I'm going to ground it out. Now let's see, is that enough? So I can hear the solenoid. Let's try a 5 amp. See, the voltage drops to 0.4. So that definitely clicks. What about the one for the right rear? Same experiment. So you can hear that it also clicks. Does that mean it's good? So we don't want to call a bad solenoid block if it's not a bad solenoid block. What if there's a restriction in the line? I think now we have enough evidence to go to the solenoid block and maybe crack a line loose, see if the left rear corner is capable of coming down. I don't know what else the problem could be. Okay, under the Audi, got this big plastic shield removed. Here's our contraption for the air suspension. So the pump and then this solenoid block, and you can see the lines coming off it. They're color coded. So the orange one is the rear left, it's RL. The yellow is the rear right. You can kind of hear a small little leak. I don't know if you guys can see that. I sprayed these things with WD-40 and there's little bubbles coming out, but I just want to see if we crack, for example, the rear left loose, will the rear left start dropping? So I'm not under the car. Is it dropping? Should be. Get a tape measure. It's pretty slow. So yes, you can see by the tire tread it is slowly dropping in the right rear. That's the line that's cracked loose right now. Slowly but surely. Alright, let's tighten that one up and crack open the red line, or the orange line. How did people ever live without air suspensions, right? Uh-oh. That's not really tightening up that well. What gives? Oh, let me try to figure this out. Something's not sealing up. Alright, so I cracked the rear left is, or rear right is completely deflated. Cracked the rear left loose, that's the problematic one. Yes, the rear of the car is dropping now. So once all that pressure depletes, the rear of the car should be completely at its lowest setting. Are we dropping down here? I think. So with both rear shocks, with the lines disconnected at the valve block, they should have no pressure in the rear. So the rear should be on the ground. It's not. And we see that the right rear is at about 1 inch. The left rear is almost 1.7 inches. Why is it stuck so high? Now, if we inflate the left rear shock, I just have an air line adapted to the red line there. Just a bicycle pump with the, just thread that in. Let's see the rear left deviation. So I'll pump it up. And release the air. the right rear follows it a little bit because, you know, the height is affected by each shock. We only dropped to 1.7, completely deflated. That's like off-road height. So what gives? Are these rear shocks just shot and stuck high? That's what it looks like. It's not a control problem. It's not a valve block problem. It's not a compressor problem. The rear shocks, they're not leaking. They're just not deflating and compressing all the way. Now this is the air spring and damper, you know, fluid assembly. It's very fancy. It has electronic valves for the damping as well. And could the damping valve be stuck? Maybe. But this thing needs new rear shocks to get rid of this air suspension problem. And the valve block is cracked on the yellow line going to the right rear wheel, so it needs a new valve block. It sounds really expensive, doesn't it? The compressor sometimes overheats. It might be on its way out. I mean, what do? Tell the customer, I spent 3 hours in diagnostics and you need this, this, and this. Good luck at the Audi dealership. I think that's what I might have to do. I'm not replacing shocks and air compressors and all this nonsense. So that's the diagnosis for the air suspension system. Let's get his coolant leaks fixed. And, you know, with everything reconnected, I don't know if I can putty that crack down there on the valve block, but I guess you could drive it in off-road mode, because then the car wants to be at, you know, 1.5 inches, and it won't fuss about the rear left not going down far enough. That might be an option. So once we get it all back together, we'll take it on a test drive and see if that works. Alright, so just to wrap up this air suspension case study, I guess, 2250 is the code that consistently comes back because it can't lower the rear to where it wants it to go. So right now, deviation is so rear left doesn't want to go below 1.7 inches. Rear right doesn't want to go below 1.1 inches. And the fronts are doing okay. They're right around 0. We're in comfort mode. And if you start the car with that code, it locks out off-road or lift, which, whatever. The car still drives. It'll just keep setting that code. So my diagnosis is it needs 2 rear shock absorbers. So not an easy diagnosis. You could say, hey, it's a valve block problem, the car's not, you know, lowering like it's supposed to. Nope. If you disconnect the lines and the back, you know, for that shock, it doesn't drop to basically, you know, its lowest point. Shock absorber is stuck, just stuck high. And I did put an O-ring on the valve block, so hopefully he won't need a new valve block. Just put an O-ring right around the plastic hose. And it also has one around the fitting, so it's not hissing, leaking anymore. Money pits, what can I say? Back to the Audi Q7. As you can see, the rear is now all the way down. So what I did was I loosened up the hoses at the fittings just at the rear wheels and set it down just to see if something was plugged up. There's another variable, part of the fancy shock absorber. It's called a residual pressure valve. So if you lose all pressure in the system, you don't want your car to drop to basically dragging the ground. This valve is supposed to hold 3 atmospheres, or about 40 psi minimum in the air springs. So unscrew the line, set it down, it hissed, and it came down to here, which looks like a decent, you know, low ride height. Is it possible those valves could have gotten a little plugged up or sticking? Possibly. And then setting it down with no nothing holding the air back on the hose side. Maybe it blew out. So I'm going to reconnect the hoses, get in the car, start it up, go up and down, and see if that corrected the problem. If it did not, we might need to replace these special residual pressure valves. They're almost 400 bucks each at the dealer, but you can get them on eBay or Amazon for like $20 to $50 a piece. I ordered a couple just in case, nothing to lose, but let's see if the car comes back to life after this kind of manual reset, or if it's, you know, if the rear end sticks up high again. Alright, car started up. Let's log in. Let's see what the air suspension does. Should we try off-road? Do data stream. I just want to see the vehicle heights or deviations. Okay, so the right is coming up to off-road height. So the rear is now level at 0.8. That's good. Front's coming up. Okay, so it's happy. Alright. No leaks. Now I want to also graph the solenoid valves and compressor temperature and pressure sensor. Now when we lower it to comfort, let's see what happens. So the fronts are lowering and the rears should be lowering. Okay, they all went down. Let's try dynamic. Fronts are going down to minus 0.6. Both rears went down to minus 0.5. Car is totally happy. Let's go back to comfort. I don't want to stress out this compressor just one step at a time because it does heat up pretty quickly. Okay, it's happy in comfort, right at 0. And then let's do off-road. So it bumps up the rear first to about 1 inch. Now the fronts, see those shut off, those turned on. Do we dare try the lift mode? That's 2 inches up. Let's try it. So again, the rears are going up. Okay, the rear is finished. Now the fronts. Compressor is getting pretty warm. Let's see if it can go all the way. Beautiful. Okay, so it's happy in lift mode. Now let's go down to just regular comfort mode. So the front is going down first, down to 1 inch. Now the rears. Now the front's still going down. Now the rears down to 1 inch. Okay. At least we can take it for a test drive. Make sure it doesn't set any codes. And auto is when you're driving, if you're going really fast, it'll lower you. But I think we're in good shape here. Let's just try dynamic one more time. -1, -1, minus half an inch. Let's go back to comfort. Just bumping up the rears. Happy, happy. So I think the air suspension is fixed, no parts required, at least for now. The rear, whatever pressure valves, were just stuck, closed. So undoing the air lines and just sitting it down and letting them just blow out on their own, I think did the trick. It's working perfect. I'm sure there are no codes set. Maybe that was from last time. Okay, it's lifting up the back. This is for off-road mode. Now it's lifting up the front. Okay, happy. Let's go back down to comfort. Set the front down first. Set the rear down. Done. Happy. Okay. Wasn't doing that before. So I'm happy with that. Now we just got to take care of these coolant leaks and get this Audi back to the customer.